Hello. So in this video, we're going to talk about Heinrich von Morungen's poem, The Wound of Love. So von Morungen was a 12th to 13th century German poet. He helped to sort of establish and define this poetic style called the Minnesang, which I may be pronouncing wrong. If I am, sorry. But it's songs of love, and it sort of focuses on this figure of Minne, M-I-N-N-E, who is this sort of Germanic rough equivalent of Venus or Aphrodite from the Roman and Greek traditions. Minne is a goddess of love, or a figure of love. But in much the same way, perhaps, that German fairy tales are much darker and more violent than their Disney counterparts. Not that Greco-Roman culture is Disney in this comparison, but you're I think, going to get what I'm saying. Minne is much more... There's an element of suffering to love with Minne that is not necessarily always present with Aphrodite or Venus. Minne... Love for Minne, and this is not an unusual thing. This is not something that Germans came up with necessarily, or something that von Morungen came up with. But Minne is often associated with the suffering of love, the suffering that comes with love, this painful desire, this need for the other that is also the need for one's own completion, if we were to psychoanalyze it. And we see that in The Wound of Love, this suffering aspect of desire for the other or for the beloved. So I'm going to read you the poem, and then we'll talk about it more. The Wound of Love. She has wounded me in my innermost soul, within the mortal core, when I told her that I was raving and anguished in desire for her glorious lips. Once I bade my own lips to commend me to her service, and to steal me a tender kiss of hers, that I might forever be well. How I begin to hate her rose-red lips, which I never yet forgot. It troubles me still that they once refused me with such vehemence. Thus I have grown so weak that I would far rather, alive, burn in the abyss of hell than serve her still, not knowing to what end. So, first it's worth sort of noting the contradiction here, that in the first stanza, the first half of the poem, it's 2 stanzas, the poet persona identifies the beloved, Minne's, lips as a source of healing, right? And to steal me a tender kiss of hers, that I might forever be well. This desire for the other, and this desire for intimacy, physical contact, a kiss, is represented as a potential source of healing. And yet, in the second stanza, how I begin to hate her rose-red lips, there is this turn, right? We can presume from the language of this poem that the speaker has kissed the beloved, and it has not quenched that desire. And so there is this element in which desire is not fulfilled by getting the thing that one thinks one wants, particularly when it is something like love, right? There's the famous lines at the beginning of Shakespeare's play Twelfth Night. If music be the food of love, play on. That, I forget exactly what it is. That through surfeit of it, the appetite may sicken and die. Something along those lines. That's not quite right. But there's this idea that the excess of love, that the experience of love will quench the desire for love. And often that is not the case, right? And that's sort of what this poem revolves around. There's almost this sense that getting it's addiction, right? It becomes that sort of suffering of addiction. I have had a kiss from the beloved, and now I need more. I am insufficiently sated by this single experience of romance. I need additional kisses. I need additional whatever it is. But that in itself is not the objective of the poem, right? It's not, I must have more. It is, I resent the beloved because I am not sated by this kiss. I am suffering, and I turn that experience of suffering from internal analysis of myself and my desire, my need for the beloved, to external condemnation of the beloved. I now hate you because I continue to desire you, or I desire you more because this is what has happened. And there's this anti-chivalric element to it, right? So von Morungen lived around 1150 to 1222. This would be the era in which chivalric romantic poetry, the troubadour tradition, etc., is dominating European writing, particularly Western European writing in places like France, England. Places like Italy are in the midst of this sort of chivalric romantic style as well. And all of that is influencing places like Germany. Von Morungen gives us a very anti-chivalric approach here, because one of the components of chivalric romance and chivalric love is that the male lover is to offer eternal service to the female beloved, regardless of to what end. And right, so that's the thing. It is supposed to be this almost religious devotion to the beloved. And what von Morungen gives us at the end of this is, thus I have grown so weak, and that may be weakness in terms of the inability to resist desire, or that may be moral weakness on some level in within a chivalric worldview. My moral need to serve the beloved in this chivalric ethical framework has grown so weak. Thus have I grown so weak that I would far rather alive burn in the abyss of hell than serve her still, not knowing to what end. And so this is a really interesting last portion of the poem. Of course, the I would rather burn in hell is incredibly problematic for a very religious society. Hell was very much seen as a real threat that one to which one might be sent for one's sins, and inviting that as an experience would be seen as very troubling. But then this, I would rather burn in the abyss of hell than serve her still. And this is the non-chivalric or anti-chivalric component. I do not want to serve the beloved, which is the thing I am supposed to do within the chivalric worldview, not knowing to what end. And this is an interesting line, because I think there's a couple of ways we can read this. One is not knowing what her end is, right? Not knowing what the beloved wants. I cannot serve her without knowing what she wants, because I cannot give it to her, or because whatever it is, her objectives are mysterious to me, or not knowing to what end of my desire, right? And if this is the sort of central concern of it, is I have experienced this kiss with the beloved, and the desire that drives me, that unsettles me, is not quenched, is not fulfilled, then I don't know what will fulfill that desire. I do not know what will ease my suffering born out of love for Minna, if not kisses. And so if I do not know what will help to heal my desire, then I cannot continue to serve the beloved.